Obviously, a big win, and sometimes as I go in the locker room, the energy's not quite as what you expect sometimes because the game was a little bit, I wouldn't say lopsided, but early on in the game, and so you lose a little bit of that energy and momentum. But I reminded those guys that this is a far cry from where we were 5 years ago, and that's a tribute to what all those guys, a lot of those guys up in that locker room. Those guys have been here for 5 years. The Desmond Ritters and the Majay Sanders and Joel Blancos and all those guys that have really kind of turned this program and this culture around to be what it is. And that's a really good football team that is a little bit wounded. That obviously is down a few players and some really key players, but that's probably what had me up as much as anything. As a wounded dog is one that you worry about a lot. And it was really on our guys about coming out strong. And I can tell you that's what I'm most proud of, is the way they came out that first half. It was only 14-0 in first quarter, but I really felt like our offensive line had established what we wanted to do, and our defensive line had established something that we really wanted to do coming out of the gates. And for that, I'm really, really excited and proud for what those guys have done, handling a lot of the other stuff outside of us.
First drive of the game, Luke, it seemed like you were the first 5 minutes. You got a big defensive stop. You got a terrific special teams play with Josh partially blocking the punt, and then you got the execution on offense. Is that the kind of ideal start you're talking about?
That's what we're talking about, is really playing that complementary three-phase football. And that's what I think is going to make it so difficult to beat this group, because they can play all three phases of the game, and they take pride in it. It's not like this is an offensive team and we're going to do this, or what people thought maybe in year 3 that, hey, this is a defensive-oriented team. No, this is a team that feeds off of each other, that plays complementary ball. And when guys like Wiley, who might not be getting the touches that he would expect or want, maybe in the passing game, he turns around and has an incredible play like that really kind of, I'm not saying jump starts, but really kind of starts that ball rolling.
Two straight games with 50-plus points. Coming out of Notre Dame, did you have any concern or question how you guys would follow up a big win and the way they have?
I mean, we always have concerns, but you rely upon those guys that that really have done it for a while. And I keep saying that the maturity of this team now, I'm not sure that we came out the second half exactly the way I would like to, and it gives us something to kind of really work on. But the maturity of this team and handling a lot of the noise and the stuff that goes on after games and the whole during the week, and whether Desmond Ritter's having to do some other things for whatever's going on. They have been able to so far handle that stuff and really control the locker room. And to me, that's where this team is really headed. And as long as we've got that maturity, those guys we can continue to stay humble and hungry. They will set the tone as we continue to make this run.
It seems like it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Jerome Ford carrying more of a load the way it has in the past couple of weeks.
He has, and I think he's just getting stronger and stronger. And I think the great thing for where he is and where we are is he hasn't had to have that game where he's had 30-some touches. And at some point in time, it's probably going to have to happen. And I don't worry or bat an eye that he'll be able to do it. We've just been fortunate enough to be in some situations where he hasn't had to do that. So he's going to be really, really fresh in the second half of the season. And I think that does nothing but make us a more explosive offense and team, because if we needed to, we'd throw him in on some of those special teams that he's always asking about. But for right now, we're gonna continue to hold him out a little bit on the special teams. But he's been definitely begging for it.
He's becoming known for these large gaping runs. How demoralizing do you think as a defense when you see these 70, 80-yard runs?
It's tough, and sometimes even when you see guys that run away from you. I know for me, don't get me wrong, it wasn't 5 years ago. We saw a lot of that running away from us right out here against UCF, and to have a guy now that you can see kind of maybe even run away a little bit from some guys, especially from a team that's got as much speed as they have. The kid can go, and we got to continue to find ways to get into that second level, and that's what the offensive line really did tonight.
There was Heisman chatter on Twitter as the game's going on. Did you put him in that category with Des now?
I don't know. I say whatever motivates them, I will put them in whatever category they want. To be honest, the great thing is he is a humble kid. I mean, he really doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. He really kind of handles. You wouldn't know the difference walking in the locker room whether he had 22 yards rushing or whatever he had tonight, 179 or something. And I tell you, whatever comes his way, he's earned.
the college football playoff trophy was in town today. Were you aware of that?
The
at all?
makeshift one that
No,
we had on the
the
side.
real one outside
The real
the
one, no,
stadium.
I don't notice a whole lot of those things from about Thursday on. Again, that's not something that's a big deal to us. You know, we try to really kind of stay focused and locked into the things that we can control. And right now, we've got a ways to go. And you know, that second half gives us a little something to kind of lock ourselves back into and figure out how we can put 4 quarters together, no matter what the situation.
Luke, it seems like Desmond doesn't have to have a big game for you guys to win.
No, and I think that's the great thing is when you got a guy like Des who can do anything you really need him to do. Doesn't have to have one of those types of days. And not saying he couldn't, not saying we couldn't have thrown the football, but just the way the offensive line came out, the way they were controlling things. I think the way they were playing us a little bit too is I'm sure that they had an idea that they didn't want to let Desmond throw the football around. And the thing that I was stressing to the offense was let's take what they're going to give us. Let's don't try to get overly, I'm not saying arrogant, but thinking that we got to do this, this, and this to create those big plays when I promise you that if our guys up front can do what they're supposed to do and strain, and our guys on the outside can get on bodies in the second level, those 6-8-yard runs will turn into big ones, and that's what they did today.
Speaking of offensive lines, UCF has a good one. They have bigger defense than probably all.
We're very fortunate. We've got some really good guys up front there. We've got some guys that are able to roll. And, when you can play 7, 8 guys on a consistent basis up there, when you can take Majay Sanders out, who is as disruptive as anybody I've been around. He might not have the stats, but I'm talking about as disruptive as anybody that I've been around. When you can take him out, and give him, only 60% of the snaps, and you don't feel like you're missing something, that just shows you that the depth that those guys have got up there. And a lot of those guys are seniors and what they've been through. That's the strength of our team.
Last year, you guys dropped a little bit in the rankings when you didn't play. Do you feel like a need to put up style points or anything with the way the
You weren't here last week. I have no style. My wife's the only one that has any style. She puts out what I don't know what style really looks like. I'm all about playing 4 quarters. I'm all about playing complementary football. I'm all about grinding things out. If somebody thinks that's a good style, that's a bad style, I don't know. I know our kids play hard, and no matter what, if we all want to continue to talk, we're going to have to play our best football down the stretch. And in order to do that, we're going to have to continue to get better.
I know it was a 56-21 game, but your punter had a pretty good game. 3 punts inside the 20 and a punt that led to a touchdown.
He did a really good job, and that's probably the first time he's faced a little bit of wind too, which is something I think is different, especially on a young guy. And we got some rush early on in the game too, and you didn't see him bat an eye or panic at all. I think we got one fortunate roll, but all in all, it's halfway through the season now, and being here in January and things like that, he's not a freshman anymore, and we're going to continue to rely on him.
Kobe, one of those guys who's been here since the beginning, had a big play today, his first pick 6. How did you feel as he got to the end
It's
zone?
awesome for him. I'm not sure that the guy running down the seam, he didn't need to help on, but we don't have to worry about that. Players make plays, and so happy for him. A lot of attention is garnered at the other side with Ahmad and all that he does, and the heart and soul, really, the captain of that defense is Kobe Bryant, and for him to have those plays where everybody recognizes it, I'm really happy for him.
Any more questions?
Just make sure, I think Coach Malzahn had to bolt out
Okay.
on his daughter maybe had some complications or something. I think he had to get a private flight. Just make sure